We have two vastly different takes on how Catholics should view Islam. Which one do you agree with? First, Pope Leo XIV just recently said that anti-Muslim sentiment is, quote, oftentimes generated by people who are against immigration and trying to keep out people who may be from another country, another religion, or another race. He wanted his trip to Lebanon to show that, quote, dialogue and friendship between Muslims and Christians is possible, and that we should perhaps be a little less fearful of Muslims on the whole. The Pope cited Lebanon as a place where Catholics and Muslims can coexist because that's exactly what they've been doing here for quite some time. The primary mechanism for managing Christian and Muslim coexistence is the political system known as confessionalism. This system formally allocates political power based on religious affiliation. So the president will always be a Maronite Catholic, the prime minister will be a Sunni Muslim, and the speaker of parliament will be a Shia Muslim. And while each religious group has their own regions in which they're the dominant group within Lebanon, the major urban areas tend to be very diverse in terms of religious affiliation. Now, one thing that Lebanon has working for them is that the Lebanese people generally share a common Arabic speaking culture, cuisine, media, the education system, so they are already culturally homogenous in many ways. And also their means of coexistence is very much organic and has been this way for centuries. I think the Pope makes these remarks as a response to the backlash over mass Muslim migration into Europe. Because many of these European countries have resigned to not just tolerating a small Muslim minority, but to allow such a significant amount of Muslim immigration that's fundamentally changing the character and demographics of their countries. Over 50% of new immigrants to Europe are Muslim, and once they're established, they're having more children than the Christian natives. The average birth rate in Western Europe now is somewhere around 1.5, with 2.1 being the replacement level. However, Muslims in Europe have a birth rate of about 3.0. So the mass immigration plus the birth rate differential means that Muslims will be the majority religion within the major cities of Europe by the year 2100. So clearly, things have changed a lot. Centuries ago, the Pope may have led an army into battle in order to protect Christendom from Muslim invaders. But now we have a Pope who not only won't denounce the mass Muslim immigration into Europe, but will actually encourage Christians to embrace it. Now, Catholic historian and writer Hilaire Belloc took a different view during his prominence in the 20th century. One in which Islam and Christianity are not compatible. Belloc's most distinctive claim was that Islam is not a new religion, but a Christian heresy. He argued that Islam, which arose on the fringes of the Christian world, took core doctrines from Christianity and Judaism and oversimplified or corrupted them. The key heretical point was the denial of the Incarnation and the Trinity. He stated that Muhammad taught that Christ was the greatest of the prophets, but still only a prophet, a man like other men. He stressed that this distinction was crucial, as it meant Islam was not an enemy outside of the Christian tradition, like paganism, but an internal, though geographically distant, perversion of it. Belloc famously predicted that Islam's decline was temporary, and that its spiritual strength would lead to its eventual re-emergence as a powerful force challenging the West. He suggested that the West's secularism and abandonment of its core faith would make it vulnerable. He wrote, quote, I, for my part, cannot believe that a main unexpected thing of the future is the return of Islam. And in the contrast between our religious chaos and the religious certitude still strong throughout the Mohammedan world lies our peril. He also commented on the resilience of Islam, noting that missionary efforts by Christian orders had everywhere wholly failed to convert individual Muslims, making the religion apparently unconvertible. So Belloc essentially takes the exact opposite view of Pope Leo XIV, a view in which no matter how hard we might want to try, there will be no peaceful coexistence between Muslims and Christians. So what do you think of this contrast? Let me know in the comments which worldview you more align with. And before we look at what Catholic Twitter had to say on this matter, I just wanted to talk about a great company that I partnered with called Real Estate for Life. I know, interest rates are high, home prices are inflated, and the real estate market is highly competitive. But if God has so blessed you to be in a position to buy or sell a home, then I encourage you to use Real Estate for Life to guide you through the process. They have 1,400 agents around the country that can help you to keep your Catholic values in mind when looking for a place to live. They also give a portion of all the proceeds to a pro-life charity. So just like it's good to support small business, it's also good to support Catholic business, whether it's a pro-life real estate company or a Carmelite monastery that sells coffee. So if you're in the market for a home, follow the link in my description and make sure to say that Purely Catholic sent you. Okay, so the first tweet I wanted to look at is from Bridget Gabriel, and she takes issue with the peaceful relations she thinks Muslims and Christians have in Lebanon. She said, Pope Leo is flat out wrong here. Lebanon is a place where Christians are persecuted and killed for their religion. As a Maronite Christian from Lebanon who had her home bombed by Palestinian terrorists, I think I know what I'm talking about. So she's right to some degree. We don't see the same kind of Muslim on Christian violence in Lebanon that we see in a place like Nigeria, but there is a history of attacks on Christian civilians, particularly during the Lebanese Civil War. Additionally, the Hezbollah militia, which is a powerful Shia Muslim militant group backed by Iran, is a dominant force in parts of Lebanon. Political leaders in Lebanon have referred to them as an existential threat to the Christian community. So, while relations may be more peaceful in Lebanon, largely because of the shared cultural history, it isn't the cakewalk that many have painted it out to be. Okay, Humble Flow tweeted, "Imagine Pope Urban II watching his successor say the danger isn't Islam, but the people worried about it." So I mentioned this earlier, but I want to reiterate how dramatically things have changed on this topic over time. We saw Pope John X personally involved in military command during a decisive battle against the Saracens. Then Pope Leo XIV personally went to the port of Ostia to bless the Christian fleet and offer mass to the troops before another battle against the Saracens. Pope Urban II mobilized Western European armies to seize the Holy Land before the First Crusade. So many things have changed over the centuries within the church teaching on the death penalty, the liturgy, and the role of the laity. However, I don't think anything has changed more than the attitudes towards Islam, and I'm not convinced that this will be helpful for the church or Christendom on the whole. Okay, not a Catholic, but the Lutheran peasant tweeted, "In 2100, children in Europe will curse their fathers because they live under repressive Muslim governments in majority Muslim countries. Their great cathedrals are mosques, and the small churches they are allowed to keep are regularly defaced." And papists will say, "But it was never magisterial." So think of this. The Cologne Cathedral took 650 years to build. Those that initiated the process knew that they would never see it completed. But I imagine they felt great joy of the inheritance that they would leave to future generations. And then fast forward to today. In England alone, there are nearly 1,800 mosques across the country. The idea that our children and our children's children will be thanking us one day for the cultural enrichment and for the peaceful society of Christians and Muslims is laughable. The young people of the future will inherit a worse society, and Catholic Church leadership has essentially endorsed this process. So I know these are all negative takes to Pope Leo's comments, but I'm honestly hard-pressed to find anyone who agrees or thinks the Pope's comments are super inspiring. Even the comments on neutral Catholic news sources are all very negative on this topic. I had to search Grok to find anything positive. So Ed Hussein tweeted, "While many are stuck in the supremacist crusader mindset from 1096 to now, here's the second Pope in a row to invoke respect and say, dialogue and friendship between Muslims and Christians is possible." So any Catholic, at least the ones I know, are all in favor of civil dialogue and peace between different religious groups. And of course nobody wants war and more crusades, but if the cost of peace and good relations means handing Christendom over to Islam, then that's not something that I'm personally willing to subscribe to. I have a feeling relations wouldn't be so warm and fuzzy if it were Christians who were flooding into Turkey and replacing their mosques with churches. So that's all I've got for now. Thanks for tuning in as always, and let us pray for the Catholic Church.